You got mail.
Do you remember the 90s?
Come on, Uncle Phil, this is the 90s, man.
Man, it's the 90s. It's hammer time. Come on.
It's the 90s, remember? Microchips, microwaves, faxes, earphones.
Ma, it's the 90s. You can call it what it is.
Yada, yada, yada.
I can be anything I want to be. It's the 90s.
What, are you nuts? This is the 90s. We're gonna sue you.
Wake up and smell the 90s.
All right, open your boxes. Open your boxes. 1, 2, 3.
So, what do you think our episode is about today?
Is it Oprah in the 90s?
It is Oprah in the 90s.
That is quite an iconic moment.
It is a very iconic moment that happened in 2004. However, it's probably the thing that most memeable and most sort of memorable episodes of her show. So
That and the Wagon of Fat. Did that happen in the 90s?
88. So the two most iconic episodes probably of all times on her 25-year-long show did not happen in the 90s.
So the question is, Cheryl, where are we going with this? Because this podcast is about
The 90s. Well, we can start with this. 1993.
I'm every woman.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Now some Patti LaBelle open.
Did you just say pants on fire?
Maybe.
Wait, so hold on. So Patti LaBelle made a custom.
As did Tina Turner. She did the I'm Every Woman. Yeah. She had that much influence. Oprah Winfrey was the influencer before influencers. She's the ultimate influencer.
So tell me about this influencing.
Okay. Well, first, tell me what you know about Oprah in the 90s.
Well, she was.
Did your mom watch it?
No, I don't think my mom was. I mean,
my mom watched it.
Well, let's say this. My mom was a working mom. So she recorded her soap operas and we would watch Guiding Light every night.
I see. Okay, so never mind.
Yeah.
So you don't have that much knowledge about Oprah beyond like her pop culture impact, right?
Not really. So I'm looking forward to.
So I was pretty in it. I watched it quite a bit, and my mom watched it quite a bit. I think it was on at 4 where we lived, and so I was done school, would come home, and at least until I went to college, I watched it at least a couple times a week, probably. But let me start with an introduction to her so that we can give some context. So Oprah Gail Winfrey, yes, her middle name is the same name as her best friend, Gail King, was born January 29th, which is a special day in our family.
It's my birthday.
That's right.
I did not know I shared a birthday with Oprah. That's pretty awesome.
You do. January 29th, 1954, in Mississippi, and lived in Milwaukee and Nashville during her childhood, and went back and forth between her mother and who she thought was her father, but turned out to not be her biological father. But she still sort of treated him as the biological father. And he was hard on her and probably gave her like a work ethic that her mother, I don't think would have. She became pregnant at age 14. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Yeah, Oprah got pregnant at 14 because she was a little bit of a wild child. And she gave birth to a boy, and it died about a month after it was born.
Oh, it's horrible.
It's horrible, but she sort of internalized it as a blessing in disguise, and she decided to change her life dramatically because she felt she had a greater purpose. By the time she was 19... she was a television anchor, like a news television anchor, 19 years old. It's crazy. So she started a local talk show, and then it evolved into the national talk show that we're familiar with. That started in 1986, which became a cultural phenomenon. And it ended in 2011, and I remember that because that's when our daughter was born. Oh, and I got to watch the last months of Oprah.
To me, I honestly never even known that Oprah came out of the 90s.
Oh yeah, no, she was hugely influential all through the 2000s, up until 2011. So I bet you don't know this then either. apparently when she was young, before she had her national show, or I think maybe on the cusp of having her national show, she went on like an informal date with Roger Ebert.
This I have heard.
Oh, you have heard this? So you tell it.
And so if I remember right, they didn't really hit it off, but he gave her some advice, or at least admired her and told her that she needed to have her own show, or
she needed to own her
own show. Yes, because he owned At the Movies.
That's right. He told her that she needs to not be an employee. She needs to own the whole shebang. And that is what led her to sort of her billionaire status of years later. So what people forget about Oprah, people who are familiar with her, like our generation or our parents' generation, they forget that the first 5 to 10 years, she was like a tabloid show. She had some really rough episodes about spouses cheating and things that were really taboo. There were like episodes about cross-dressing, which was a big deal. Or I guess there were a few pretty famous episodes about racism and skinheads. Yeah. So here, I'm going to show you a little clip of this.
I just heard what you said. You just said, I don't sit with monkeys. You think because she's black, because I'm black, we're monkeys? Is that?
That's a proven fact.
That's a proven fact? It's a proven fact that I'm a monkey?
Could be, but, you know, it's...
So that was 1988. So we're still a little bit before the 90s, but it's definitely an introduction to what the topics were at the time.
She was basically riding on the shoulders of Donahue, which was the number one show at the time. And he also had a lot of hot button topics on his show. So she didn't find her own voice. She was emulating the Donahue model.
To a certain extent, yeah. I think in the past, talk show hosts hadn't stood in their audience like both Donahue and Oprah did, like carrying the mic and sort of speaking for the audience and letting the audiences speak and ask questions. You know, I think we were accustomed to talk shows that kind of pandered and were just about, like The Tonight Show. It was all about celebrity and being slick, and these kinds of shows were sort of the first ones that brought real people and sort of stories that normal people could identify with.
Not chaos as much as spontaneity. Maybe chaos with the
for that
white supremacist people, but spontaneity.
Yeah. There was also an episode where she I did not write down the name of the town, but there's some county down south that had no black people that lived there at all. So she went and did an episode there, like you do. And I saw a little bit of a clip, and they were talking about, well, people can live, but we want to live away from them or something. It was like very weird and despicable. Oh, and by the way, finding clean clips of the Oprah Winfrey Show are incredibly difficult.
Well, she owns everything.
She owns everything. So there is the odd clip here and there. I went on her own OWN YouTube page, and it had some clips, but a lot of them were like contextualized or like talking about the episode. There's hardly any way to find regular episodes anywhere. It was kind of crazy. Do you know what else she did in the 90s besides her talk show?
Outside of the talk show.
Yeah.
Well, she was a producer. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that she was in The Color Purple in the 80s.
Yeah, 1985, she was in The Color Purple with Whoopi Goldberg and Danny Glover. So she did put her toe into the producing. She started off with a TV miniseries called The Women of Brewster's Place. Sorry. The Women of Brewster Place with Cicely Tyson and Jack Hay.
I watched that when it was on.
I'm pretty sure I watched that too. It was apparently pretty well received and got pretty good ratings. And then there was also a short-lived spin-off TV series that only lasted one season. Like it was an episodic show, not a miniseries.
Now, can I ask you this? Is this in your notes? Was the 90s a time when she had Dr. Phil on?
We'll get there.
Okay.
We'll get there. But the thing that I think she cared the most about was the adaptation of Toni Morrison's novel Beloved. 1998, she produced it. She worked very closely trying to get the director. It was Jonathan Demme.
Jonathan Demme, yeah.
Yep. And I remember seeing it, and the general criticism is that it was another slave film, but it was a subject she was interested in. And The other one was it was very confusing. It was supernatural, like there were supernatural elements, and so there was it was hard to follow. So it did not do well, and it was one of her first sort of unsuccessful productions up to this point. So you want to talk about Dr. Phil?
Oh, I want to talk about Dr. Phil, the scourge.
Do you know how she met Dr. Phil?
Was she one of his patients?
No. So there was a 1996 episode about mad cow disease.
Go on.
And there were a few different people. There were like a now vegan reformed something or other. And there were Texas farmers there, and they were explaining both sides. And at one point, they talked about how it is commonplace for cows to eat other cows. And that's part of how mad cow disease works. It was over in the UK at the time. It was not in America. But apparently that was a commonplace thing. Now, we didn't have the disease in America, but she was very turned off, as is understandable, about cows eating other cows.
So we're not talking about cows physically attacking other cows.
No.
We're talking about them eating cow meat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this is humans feeding cows to cows.
Exactly. Human choices. And she made an offhanded remark about not wanting to eat another burger. And she had so much influence that, I don't know, like stock prices just plummeted in beef futures or something. And she got sued by, I don't know if it was a cattlemen's association or just a group of farmers. And she had
Big beef.
Big beef.
Had beef with
Yeah.
Oprah.
Yeah. And she had to go to Amarillo, Texas and defend herself for 6 weeks.
I do remember that.
Yeah.
I didn't remember the context of it, but I remember her having to go to court.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a really great episode of a podcast called Maintenance Phase that I've listened to a couple times about this whole scenario, and it's pretty wild. So she would go to court all day long, and then she would shoot her shows in the evening at some auditorium in Amarillo, Texas. Oh,
That's crazy. This is all coming back to me now. I remember the oddity. It was almost kind of like people tuned in because of the just spectacle of it. That it was so out of the ordinary.
It was unusual, yeah. And she had sort of different kinds of guests because, you know, it's a different place. So, and she had different audiences because it was local Texas audiences. It wasn't Chicago audiences. And Dr. Phil, because that's what we're talking about here, Dr. Phil was part of her strategic defense team.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's very, very wealthy at this point. She's been doing her show for 10 years, owns the show. Thank you, Roger Ebert, is incredibly wealthy. So she had absolutely everybody helping her with this defense. And Dr. Phil was one of the people who, I believe that he was related to jury selection. So after that whole scenario, I believe she won because of course she did. She's Oprah, but also it's kind of unreasonable to not be able to say things and it not be called slander. Like she said, I don't want to eat a burger. Oh, okay. But she was very powerful. So I mean, I understand both sides, but I think she won. So Dr. Phil started appearing on her talk show and he had that like Southern kind of, you know, say it like it is.
The man has serious foghorn leghorn like appeal, like vibes. Like he is charismatic. I mean,
yeah, totally.
Everybody, I mean, I fell into it too in the 20 plus years ago, like early 2000s when his show came on. People watched it. Yep. I mean, it's, you know,
very good. He started in 2002.
Yeah.
So he appeared on 200 episodes of her show, I guess starting in 98. And then in 2002, he started his show, and it is still running.
I'm sure she has a piece of that, too.
Oh, I'm sure she does. She's even wealthier now than she ever was. She also introduced the wonderful Dr. Oz to America's culture.
You can't hear me shaking my head on this one. I mean...
Yeah, but she also introduced us Rachel Ray, who had like 30-minute meals going on at Food Network.
And that I remember. I completely remember Rachel Ray coming on her show. And I'm still a fan of Rachel Ray. Yeah. And I think she still has a show.
She does still have a show, a daytime cooking talk show. And Nate Berkus, who was one of the designers who appeared frequently. So in 1996, she started the Oprah Book Club. Do you remember the Oprah Book Club?
So what year?
1996. So it is within the 90s when she started this. 1996 was a big year for her. She started the Oprah Book Club. The first book was The Deep End of the Ocean, which became a movie with Michelle Pfeiffer. And some other books that she included on her lists were Where the Heart Is, The Reader, White Oleander, and some popular books from after that were Poisonwood Bible, The Corrections, A Million Little Pieces, even though there was controversy about
Yes.
that not being a real autobiography, and The Road. And apparently, once it got... So let's describe what the book club was. She chose a book on an episode, said, everybody go out and buy this book. And so they did. They bought these books blew up like crazy. And then a month later, they would come back and talk about it, often with the author, if they were available or alive. I think later on in the book club, she started choosing dead author books. But in the beginning, she was trying to promote live authors.
I bet the Cormac McCarthy one, you said they did The Road, was fascinating for an hour to talk about cannibalism and the downfall of man.
Yeah. Well, she had a thing for cannibalism. Or cow cannibalism.
Bovine
cannibalism, yeah. So after this was sort of established, the publishing companies would send bookstores boxes and boxes and boxes of these books, and they could not be open until the day of the name release of the book.
Wow.
So, but it was a boon to the publishing industry. Yeah, it was like, you know what? I had this great idea. I think we should all read more. And then just people did. Because that's what you do when Oprah tells you to do something.
You do it.
You just do it. During that year, she also started her Oprah's Favorite Things episodes.
I was just about to say when that started. It's
on the cusp, but it started in the late 90s, where she would have a studio audience, and it would be like Christmas for them. They would get every item on her whatever wish favorite list thing. And I'm sure at the beginning it was authentic. I think later on it probably became a little bit more product placement and who could pay the most to get, on the list. I don't know for sure.
You don't believe that Oprah used and chose every single one of the items that was.
I feel like she has a staff that might have helped. But she's also an incredibly large consumer of things. When she was very young, she was in a beauty pageant. And the question was something along the lines of, if you had $1 million, what would you do with it? And everybody else gave like great pageant answers. And she was like, I would love spending it. It would be fun. And so that's kind of how she's lived her life. She spends enormous amounts of money on like any little thing, every little luxury.
Well, it's just her and Stedman
Graham.
Yeah, just her and Stedman. So. That's
right, and the dogs.
Oh, are they the ones that are bequeathed in the will? Are they going to get the fortune?
I don't know about the will, but they are the benefit of the luxury, I'm sure.
I've never actually thought about the even idea of Oprah being dead. It's like she's immortal. Like she would never die. She's omnipresent.
It does feel like it, especially when So I told you earlier that at the beginning the show was very sort of tabloidy, and then she took a shift and it became very spiritual. I mean, there's lots of things that you can talk about her in retrospect that she, brought Jenny McCarthy and her ideas about autism and vaccines to the forefront of pop culture, which is probably a bad thing.
She was real fun until then, though.
Jenny McCarthy?
She was real fun.
This is not an episode about Jenny McCarthy. But she platformed people like that and Dr. Oz, who, especially during COVID, had said some sort of crazy things. So she platformed people that shouldn't have gotten it. But I think we can look at that in retrospect and think that she had good intentions of wanting to be almost a journalist, like a storyteller, and like, especially with like those racism episodes. She wasn't promoting racism. She was offering it up as a concept to her viewers,
Well, also showing this exists. So this isn't something that is like just a joke or something that happened during World War II. This still exists.
Totally. So we were talking about her self-help sort of idea, and the idea that she was a woman who had issues with her weight, and it would go up and down, and she would talk about it nonstop, and there would be episodes about diets and whatever.
Whole wagons of fat being dragged out.
That was the one that was pretty visual, yes. But the media was relentless. Tabloids were horrible to her.
I've heard many a terrible joke being spoken at Oprah's expense. I would say, the 90s, if anything, insert clip here, Dave. I'm going to help find it. There is all the jokes in movies and television that are at the expense of Oprah's weight.
Oh, do you think that you have to find it? Doink. I will show you the one that I actually remember.
What would you do if the man that you were living with and supporting for 5 long years...
So we can narrate this a little bit. This is Oprah looking pretty normal in the show In Living Color.
2 couples who are having that same exact problem. Just answer the question.
So now she's starting to eat potato chips.
She got 6 kids.
So, let me tell you.
So now her arms are full of snacks.
You would leave her sitting home barefoot and pregnant.
So what's happening?
She is literally growing so fat, so large that she is floating into the sky, hitting the studio lights and exploding into a rain of candy.
Yeah. She's basically Violet Beauregarding, right? She's even wearing purple.
That's a very concise way of putting it to the audience. She Violet Beauregarded all over the place.
Yeah, when you use names for verbs.
Except they did murder her in that. She exploded into like a rain of chocolate.
Oh, in the Oprah, yes, well. So I have a few clips here that you can choose from because they were relentless. In Living Color, for sure. Mad TV, for sure.
Girlfriend, look, I had a rough weekend, okay? I gained over 180 pounds. I told you to take me only with the thinning camera.
It's okay. It's okay. It is out there right now. Your thinning camera is camera number 2. It's out there. It's guaranteed to make you look 200 pounds lighter.
Good.
Insert Simpsons clip right here.
Oh, there's a Simpsons clip.
So many.
Put our stereo speakers on the ground and play something with a lot of bass. Those snakes will be in here like Oprah on a baked ham.
Bye, everybody. Thanks a lot for letting me talk to you.
Bye, Oprah. It was nice meeting you.
Goodbye, Opie.
Okay, Homer. My name is Oprah.
Oprah.
No. Oprah. Oprah.
Oprah.
Oprah.
Oprah.
Like opera, but with a long O.
Opera.
So besides that, the other tabloid rumors, what do you think?
She's gay.
Yes.
Her and Gail King. Yeah, because girls can't
Who's on
be friends.
CBS now, I think.
And also the mystery of Stedman as being the world's greatest beard.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of aloof. He didn't talk very much. We don't really know that much about him. I guess he's like a business owner. He runs some athletes for kids charity or something.
Why mess things up? The man has hit the jackpot.
Well, and he hasn't messed it up. They're still together.
Yeah.
But of course, the tabloids were crazy about her getting married. Will she? Won't they? Will they? Won't they? When will they? Who's going to do the dress? She needs to lose weight for the dress.
Has she ever gotten married?
No, they never married.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, they never married, but they're still together. And so, yeah, those rumors persisted. She also appeared in the coming out episode of Ellen from her sitcom in 97, 98. And here is an interesting clip.
Sexuality is wrong. And I feel that you are a powerful woman and you have done so much. And if you are going to represent yourself as a Christian and then you're going to go on the show and say that you also support that, it's double standarding.
Well, I have a different view of Christian than you do. Okay? And the God I serve doesn't care whether you're tall or short or whether you were born black or Asian or gay. And so that's just a difference of belief. And I don't expect to change your belief today, because just before I came down here, I'm late today because I was in the makeup room arguing with somebody who was telling me how all gay people are going to hell, and now I'm going to hell with all the other gay people for doing the show. I take full responsibility for my going to hell or heaven. I take full responsibility, and I feel that everybody who's concerned about me now going to hell because I'm doing the Ellen DeGeneres show, I think that you all should take that energy and try to create a little heaven here on earth for everybody, and I take full responsibility for it. I take full responsibility for it. See, I believe God created Ellen. I believe God did that. Right. And if Ellen says she's gay, I believe God created her gay. I believe God did that.
You can't stand up there on that show and in front of this whole American society and say that you support that. I mean,
I support her right to be who she thinks she is.
What do you think of that clip?
That's 1990, or was it 1997?
Yeah.
That with her audience and the amount of people,
her audience is pretty like middle of the road American, mostly middle-aged white women.
Yeah, but it takes people like Oprah to bring up these topics, but also to like people will listen to her and and listen in a way that isn't dismissive.
Exactly. So I could find clips that made her look good, mostly.
Well, okay, so let's go with this too. If there is a side of Oprah, we will never know, a bad side of Oprah, we'll never know about it.
It's true. So part of why it took me a while to prepare for this episode is because I was listening to an audiobook about her written by famous celebrity biographer Kitty Kelly.
Okay.
Do you know who that is?
No.
Anyway, she's
Meow.
She's a famous celebrity biographer, but she always they're always unauthorized. So this is a completely unauthorized biography. And like every single person past something like 1987 who has worked with Oprah has a confidentiality agreement. Like they cannot say anything about anything. She doesn't let because she's kind of self-conscious a lot of the time in her life, she doesn't allow photographers other than photographers that she has deemed acceptable into spaces. Like things get taken away from people so that they can't talk about her or document anything, even in the studio audience. Like she doesn't do photos with the audience, or she didn't do photos with the audience members or anything like that.
Are you trying to tell me that all the times that she was getting real with us, she was not real at all?
It's a dichotomy, right? Yeah, no, it's one of those things where on TV she has this appeal because she seems to be very vulnerable, and she talks about a lot of things in her life, sometimes less willingly. Like when the pregnancy came out, she did talk about it, but she didn't talk about it. She didn't bring it up. It was brought up, and then she talked about it.
She's in control. She has her own show.
To a certain extent, though. But, I mean, the tabloids got some information right some of the times. So, but she would often, when things were happening in her life, she would often make shows about the topic. So there's a lot of shows about, like, sexual assault, because she's been a victim of that. And, of course, racism is a topic that I think she still talks about. She doesn't invite skinheads anymore, but it's still a topic of conversation that would get brought up on her show, later. But yeah, she's an interesting person. She's very sort of extreme. Everything about her is kind of extreme. Her success is extreme. Her wealth is extreme. Her reach was incredibly extreme because she was the only one. Now there's 1,000 influencers in every little micro subject, and she was an influencer. Of course, she enhanced her media influence by starting a magazine in 2000, so not quite the 90s, but barely.
We'll give it to you.
So in 2000...
They were planning it in the 90s.
Exactly. So in 2000, she started her own magazine called OWN, O-W-N. No, it was O Magazine.
It was O Magazine. OWN is the network.
OWN is the network. That's right. So many O's. Apparently, she did a lot of things monogrammed with O's for like gifts. She's a big gift giver, and a lot of things were specially made and monogrammed with an O.
So you always remember who it came from.
Oh yes, you definitely wanted to remember who it came from. And that magazine, surprisingly, is still around. But she has appeared on every single cover, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah, except maybe I feel like I saw something about like maybe there was an episode or there was one magazine cover with Michelle Obama or something like that, like some huge significant cultural person, or like Oprah and that person.
I was about to say, it's
Maybe.
probably, I bet you she didn't stand aside. I bet she stood shoulder and shoulder with this person.
It may have been
like a Barack or Michelle or something.
It may have been Michelle. Do you have anything else to say about Oprah?
I mean, still around.
Still around, yeah.
I mean,
people still pay some attention. She's had some TV specials that she did. She did that Ozempic one. And then, of course, she did a sit down with Kamala Harris.
I was just about to say the Kamala Harris thing was Oprah like 2.0. Like it was the greatest hits of everything. She did the "Are you ready?"
Yes,
you know, all the Oprah-isms, all the things that she would talk about. It was classic. Get your bingo board out.
Yeah.
Hit every single thing.
I feel like Oprah-isms is a good word, because there's I think that she's put up kind of a barrier because she is so not of the common people anymore, that she has sort of canned answers for things and canned responses and like ways of doing things that she thinks people like what you just did.
Yeah, and I mean she is a person who is very hyper aware of like what her audience wants, or trying to give their audience what they want, but also giving them what they need at the same time.
Yeah.
Like using her platform, like you said, her reach for what she considers to be positive. Has there been anybody else that scope of that kind of power in the media? I really don't think there has. I mean, the only other person I could think of is maybe someone in their time, like a Johnny Carson. But even then, Johnny Carson was only an entertainer. He was not a person who was advocating for anything. He was not trying to change anything. He also didn't
have his feelers in all kinds of different areas. Like she's primarily media, but like still she does TV and movies and magazines. And
I think if you were going to say one thing about her that proves how influential and how powerful she was, is I think that basically the second she retired, talk shows in general are on life support.
Totally. Yeah. So here's an interesting fact. In 1998, she won a Lifetime Achievement Emmy Award. She was 44 years old.
Jesus.
Lifetime Achievement Award.
I always forget how young she was.
She was she was like early mid 30s when she started her show, and she started anchoring at 19. Like, it's crazy what she's accomplished in this lifetime.
That just means we're going to have Oprah for a long time, hopefully.
Yeah, well, she's 70 now.
I know, but I mean,
which is kind of ridiculous.
I want her for as long as we can have her.
I guess.
I will admit, I mean, as much as I'm here saying I never watched Oprah, I mean, I still like Oprah.
Yeah.
I admire Oprah greatly.
Yeah. I cannot understate how much of a pop culture influencer she really, really was. Everything she touched turned to gold. It was like, I have books on our bookshelf that I bought that I probably saw on the Oprah Winfrey Show. I'm sure I watched TV shows because she had the cast of them on. I am sure that I watched movies because Cher and Winona Ryder were on, and I wanted to see mermaids. Like, everything. Absolutely everything.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of something that I specifically saw because Oprah told me to go do it.
Yeah.
And no, I never read any of the books. I think Dr. Phil's probably the closest thing to it, which is a little sad in retrospect. But I remember his show coming on. I watched the first ever episode, and I watched that show religiously.
I think we were excited. We were like, "Oh, we get 2 hours of this now. We get Oprah and we get Dr. Phil."
Well, you get Oprah and Dr. Phil, but it was the only other television show that I think that she christened.
Yeah.
You know, she launched that show. She broke the champagne bottle on the side of Dr. Phil.
It was like a spinoff almost.
Yeah, exactly. And it was it really wasn't much different than I think it is today.
No.
At all. But it had, for at least, the repetitiveness wasn't there. For that first year or two, the patina was still
new.
there.
Yeah.
It had a glossy sheen on it. Now it's got that dull matte finish. If you look hard enough, you see the scratches. It's wearing thin.
It is wearing thin. I haven't watched that show in years and years and years.
Well,
I used to, but I haven't in years.
Yeah.
So, in past episodes that we've recorded, we haven't had something to close. Today, I have the best thing. Are you excited?
Chills.
Oprah? Uma? Oprah? I feel much better.
I miss David Letterman.
I know. He's still alive, though. So that's it.
Well, this has been fascinating.
Has it?
I learned a lot.
There will be a lot of upcoming episodes that are tangentially related to Oprah. Like, there are a lot of things that Oprah is related to.
I'm trying to think of maybe a month-long episodes of just tangentially, like the
It's the Tree of Oprah.
the Tree of Oprah.
Yeah.
Okay, stay tuned. If this ship stays a sail, there'll be more Oprah to come.
More Oprah.
All right. Well,
All right.
This has been Dave
And Cheryl. And the 90s.
and the 90s. Signing off. Till next time.
Bye.
Got a favorite 90s moment or topic you want us to dive into? We'd love to hear about it. If you think we got everything wrong, we'd love to hear about that too. Drop us an email at andthe90spod@gmail.com, link in the episode description, and you can be damn sure that we'll read your comments on the show. Also, if you're digging the show, please rate, comment, subscribe, and tell everyone you know to check us out. It really does make a difference. Till next time, remember, we're nostalgia for the olds and education for the youths.